Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. As you can see, we are pulling the F1 videos back onto this channel, and what a better race to come back on the channel for after 2 years off the channel than the Canadian Grand Prix in 2019. Now, I'm going to be doing regular videos on this channel about F1. I do have another channel called Lewis Films, which is actually about, obviously, comic books and stuff, and, you know, film and TV content, and if you do like that sort of stuff, go over there and subscribe. I'll leave a link in the description. But this is completely different. Obviously, I can't do F1 stuff on that channel because, you know, them two things don't really mix too well. So I'm back here on the F1 channel because I wanted to start making F1 videos again, and I'm going to be making F1 videos throughout the summer. Obviously, I don't have much time to do now, to make F1 videos now, but I will be having a lot of time to make them in the future. So expect the quality to improve a lot as the summer goes on. So with that being said, let's talk about the Canadian Grand Prix. So as you can see on the screen here, I've made a little graphic for you on just like the regular details of the race. Valtteri Bottas, I believe, got the fastest lap, which isn't included on this graphic. I'll keep improving the graphics. You guys can tell in the comments below whether you like these graphics or not. And yeah, so this is the one we've got today. Obviously, the winner of this Canadian Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton. What a Grand Prix that was. The Canadian Grand Prix, you know, either really delivers in a spectacular or controversial way, or it doesn't deliver at all. I personally didn't really like last year's Grand Prix at Canada, but this one, you know, was the best Canadian Grand Prix we've had since 2011. Now, obviously, it's not better than 2011. 2011 was probably the best race we've had in the modern F1 era, but I have to say, this Grand Prix was very controversial. You guys know what happened, but a quick race rundown. Lewis Hamilton wins the Canadian Grand Prix ahead of the two Ferraris, Sebastian Vettel and his teammate Charles Leclerc. Valtteri Bottas making an improvement from his start position on the grid to 4th place for Mercedes. Max Verstappen coming home in 5th after starting 9th. Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hülkenberg 6th and 7th for Renault. Pretty good day for them, 14 points. A good haul of points for Renault. It's been long coming for that team. Obviously, as we do know, Renault have struggled at the start of the season. Pierre Gasly, a disappointing 8th in the race, did start higher up, and I believe Pierre Gasly, you know, having another disappointing race, should have most likely finished, you know, probably at least above the Renaults behind his teammate Max Verstappen. But I mean, Pierre Gasly, he's had a rough start to the season. Lance Stroll, the homeboy, I gotta say, he's got to be, I'm gonna get onto my like driver of the day, because obviously we have the official one, and then we have gonna be my personal driver of the day. I gotta say, Lance Stroll is very much up there. The homeboy, the Canadian boy, Lance Stroll, he did an excellent job. He started way down in 17th, I believe. I think it was 17th or 18th, one of them. 17th, I believe, though. And he came up to finish 9th in the points. He did an excellent first stint. And then on his second stint, he came out in front of a bunch of cars and, you know, happened to finish 9th, overtaking Carlos Sainz in the process for 9th place. So I gotta say, you know, Lance Stroll did a great job. And Daniel Kvyat, once again, doing a good job for Toro Rosso, grabbing that point. Toro Rosso didn't really seem too well this weekend. You know, they've been very, very strong over on the Spanish Grand Prix and in Monaco Grand Prix. This weekend they didn't seem as strong as they were over the past 2 weekends, but Daniel Kvyat once again being consistent, grabbing that point for Toro Rosso. And I gotta say, Daniel Kvyat is, you know, he's quite in form right now. I'm also going to be starting this system on race weekend previews. So for my French Grand Prix preview, I will be doing this thing called Informs and One to Watches. So basically, it's going to be, I'm going to pick 5 or 6 drivers, based off the past 3 Grand Prix that are going to be in form. So they're going to be, that relies on consistency, that relies on race results, fastest laps, you name it. If they're doing well, then, you know, I'm going to put them in the inform. And I'll discuss that later, probably in a video tomorrow or the next day. And I'll just say who I really think is inform now. And then I'll tell you, I'll mention it again in my French Grand Prix video. But anyway, that's the race rundown. Obviously a great race. You know, obviously we've had some very bad races this year. You know, I gotta say, going into this year, I expected some spectacular races from Formula 1, but we didn't really get that. I feel like we were robbed, specifically on this race, of a great fight between, you know, 2 drivers who hold 9 world championships, Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel. I gotta say, this race was spectacular up to that point. We had Ricciardo doing a great job of defending against Valtteri Bottas in the Mercedes. I gotta say, he's in the Renault defending from a Mercedes for that amount of laps. I gotta say, I gotta give it to Ricciardo.
great defending from the man. It's, you know, it really shows why he's one of the best drivers on the grid. And then once again, defending from Nico Hülkenberg later in the race as well, his teammate. So I gotta say, you know, man, this race had it all. This race was great from start to finish. Maybe a few blips here and there, but you know, it was tense. We knew that Hamilton was catching Vettel, and then obviously we had the controversial moment where Vettel went off the track. He got onto the grass and came back on the circuit, and obviously because he's been on the grass, he's not going to have the best grip. He was still trying to correct the car as he was coming back onto the circuit, and because there was no room left on the track, he obviously went straight on the racing line, and then Hamilton tried to come around the outside of him, but that obviously didn't happen as Vettel squeezed him out to the wall. Hamilton slammed on the brakes and then avoided contact with Sebastian. And I gotta say, great driving from both of them. That just shows why they're, you know, they're you know, who they are. They're Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel, two arguably, if not the two best drivers on the grid right now. And I gotta say, you know, the great driving from both of them. If it's anyone else, there probably would have been an incident there. Hamilton, great on the brakes, great reaction, and Vettel for keeping the car together, because when he came off the track, I don't think people give Vettel enough credit for how hard that was to not put that in the wall, and Vettel did a fantastic job. And then Vettel got a 5-second penalty, which absolutely robbed the end of the race for us, because if Vettel did not get that penalty, he would have probably won the race. But then again, the argument can be made that if Vettel did not get the penalty and Hamilton didn't know Vettel had a 5-second penalty, he probably would have gone and probably lunged one down the inside of Sebastian Vettel for that win. So it can go either way. You could say Hamilton was going to win anyway, or Sebastian Vettel was going to win if he didn't have the penalty. It goes either way. Personally, I'm 50-50 in the situation. I'm a massive Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen fan. I love both of them drivers. I've never really been a fan of Sebastian Vettel, but I've got to say, I see both sides of the argument. Yes, the rules say that that was a penalty. Was it unfair? Could Sebastian do anything about it? No. I see both sides of the story here, and I'm 50-50 in the middle, but I'm tipped more towards Sebastian Vettel, purely because of how unfair it was handed out, and because of the championship. I'm thinking about the sport as a whole here. You know, like the penalty system. It's inconsistent. It's wrong. Why have we got a stupid penalty system? Then again, Hamilton is so far ahead in the championship now. We know Valtteri Bottas over the last 2 races has kind of fallen off from Hamilton. And if that happens throughout the rest of the season, Hamilton's just going to run away with the championship like he did last year. And I'm a Hamilton fan, but I'd rather see a massive fight to the end of the championship, rather than Hamilton run away with it, because that's more entertaining for everyone. So I would have rather have seen Sebastian Vettel win this one, and then Hamilton maybe come back in France and win the French Grand Prix. That's how I would have rather seen it. I would have rather seen Sebastian Vettel win this race and it be a fair fight, but we didn't get that. We didn't get that fair Lewis Hamilton versus Sebastian Vettel fight that we've been wanting for so long. And that is the problem with this sport right now. I just want to quickly mention that, you know, the sports penalty system is an absolute shambles. They've got to fix this. You know, when we get to the summer break, I hope they think long and hard about it. Well, while we're on the summer break, I hope they bring in a solid penalty system where they can consistently hand out penalties without it being too harsh to the point where we're robbed of great racing and ultimately great battles on track that will determine the end result in the championship when we get to Abu Dhabi. I personally preferred the championships where it was Hamilton versus Rosberg, and obviously I know those weren't as exciting of races because the number of overtakes significantly was less than it is now, because obviously now we have the midfield is so tight, and I love the midfield battle now, but I rather would see Hamilton versus Rosberg because of how close that championship was. The rivals, Hamilton and Rosberg, the teammates, the drama that happened between those two drivers. And 2014, you know, it went right down to Abu Dhabi, and then we had that whole drama of Rosberg's car failing. Yes, some of the other years didn't really take it to the last race because Hamilton was just significantly better than Rosberg and more consistent, but, you know, the on-track battle like Bahrain 2014, you know, and then we had that drama in Spain in 2016. All these things, you know, with Hamilton and Rosberg made it that more entertaining, but the FIA have pulled that and taken that from us, from the Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton fight in Canada, because we were about to have an epic battle, but no, we couldn't get that because they handed out a penalty to Sebastian Vettel. So at the end of the day, I'm going to call this, you know, I'm going to call this an unfair penalty. I don't think Vettel deserved a penalty. I understand, you know, that's the rules, but I feel like it was a little bit harsh. It could have gone way worse. If, you know, Hamilton was squeezed into the wall, Hamilton couldn't break in time, and Hamilton was ultimately out of the race, and Vettel came away unscathed, maybe a puncture at the most, I feel like that would have been a penalty for Vettel. And then obviously Leclerc would have probably went on to win the race. I feel that would have been a penalty for Vettel because that would have been unfair to Hamilton. It put him out of the race because of Vettel's recklessness. Obviously, he did make the mistake, so there's that. But no one retired, you know? No one got any damage, you know? Everything was good. So I feel like the penalty was a little bit unnecessary. This is racing. These things happen. It's a non-contact sport, but you can't put 20 cars on a track and expect them not to hit all the time. Or there not to be incidents. And they didn't even hit each other. Hamilton and Vettel didn't even hit each other. So I don't see the problem with this. Yes, it's in the rules, but come on, man. We want to see racing. We want to see these things happen. And I gotta say, at the end, when Vettel, you know, he swapped the 2 and the 1, right? What an absolute legend, man. I gotta say, Vettel's an absolute G. Like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. If you did enjoy, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. What is your viewpoint on this? I'm pretty sure everyone's siding with Vettel. Even, you know, Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes fans like myself are siding with Vettel in this one. What do you guys think in the comments below? Tell me, yeah, go subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.